Well, good day to you. It is September the 23rd, and I hope wherever you are, whenever you're listening to this video, you are having a really good day. My name is Gary Willing. I want to welcome you to Search for Signs. If you are new, welcome you back, of course, if you've heard these videos before. And whether you've heard these videos before or this is the first time, I always like to recommend to those people who want to know more about Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom, maybe want to take it a step further and see if there's any truth to this for yourself. It really is up to each and every one of us to do this. And I've included some links in the description portion of these videos that hopefully will make it easier for you to understand this information, what we're talking about, or even see if there's any truth to this. And then you can really decide what you want to do for it, whether you believe it or not, at the end of doing your own research. But those links are in the description portion. They take you to websites such as the Share International site, such as the George Adamski site, which is the site I'm about to talk about here in this video. So anyway, hopefully you'll take the time to do it. They're all free and they're there for you whenever you want to look into it. Now, if you want to join the discussion, post your comment. Let me know what you think. Love it, like it, mildly offended by it, hate it, whatever. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Let me know what you think by posting a comment. You can also ask me a question by posting your question in the comment section, or you can ask your question by emailing me at searchforsigns@mail.com. And I had a few comments that I wanted to talk about before I circle back around and try to talk about Reality Regenerator's comment that I had initially talked about in the last Q&A video. But let's start with Robert Vasquez. Let's see, you posted a few times. Let's start with this one. I've waited since 1982 for what appears to be the imminent appearance of Lord Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom, thank God. Well, thank you very much for that comment. And that's true. Actually, 1982 was the first time, according to Ben's master, that Maitreya could have come out and started to speak to humanity directly. And it was hoped that it was going to be around that time, and it was pushed back. And Ben always used the word soon, and then he started to say forthwith, and I had to look that one up. See what that one meant. And then there was like super forthwith or something, I don't know. But eventually, right before Ben's passing in January of 2010, he passed in October of 2016, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, in 2010, he made the announcement that Maitreya had already started to give interviews on TV. And of course, people went crazy trying to find those interviews. Nobody could really find them. I know people in the Share International network, and I've known them for years. Not one person has come forth and claimed to have recognized Maitreya, whether they could point him out to somebody or not. They've either kept their mouth shut and doing exactly what Ben had told them to do, or they really haven't seen and recognized Maitreya yet. The only person that I know of that's come close was somebody here in the Atlanta group mentioned that she had spoken to somebody at like an expo, who said that this person was telling my friend that they had indeed seen Maitreya on TV. Didn't look like what he was proposed to look like by the Share International groups, and the pictures and stuff of Maitreya that have been published didn't look anything like that, and didn't talk like that. Was talking more about politics, according to this person, but said very convincingly and that they had seen Maitreya on TV. According to Ben, up until the point of the Day of Declaration where he announces who he is to all of the world at the same time, he will not use the name Maitreya. He will never claim to be the Christ. He will never claim to be the Imam Mahdi or any of the other awaited teachers. Even when asked, he won't let the cat slip out of the bag. In fact, according to Ben himself, there were times when Maitreya was living in the Asian community of London that people were starting to suspect that he might be the Imam Mahdi, and asked him. And he said something to the effect of, the Imam Mahdi for the Muslims, Christ for the Christians, the fifth Buddha for the Buddha, Messiah for the Jews, that kind of thing, the Kalki Avatar for the Hindus or whatever. These are just names that people came up with. And he didn't even claim to be those names at this time. He just said those are names that we have come up with, and they create nothing but confusion within the minds of people. He prefers to be looked at and known as a teacher, because that's really who he is and what he is. So anybody that claims to be Maitreya, anybody that claims to be the Messiah is not him. I can let you know that much at least. But he is not using his name, and he doesn't look like the photos that people think that Maitreya, like this one with him with the white headdress and the blue wrap around it. That's not how Maitreya looks, apparently, or it would have been very easy to recognize him. So, anyway. and also too, like I said, he's not using the name Maitreya even, so I can't remember if I said that or not. But anyway, but thank you very much for that. And it is soon or imminent before most people will recognize him. But is that soon and imminent from our perspective or from the master's perspective, right? I mean, Ben said that for years, soon, 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 right? And it still could be soon according to what Ben was thinking was soon. Because from the master's point of view, it is soon. But from our point of view, it's not so soon, right? I don't have a time frame on it either. People have asked me before, when do I think Maitreya is going to be, the day of declaration is going to come or whatever like that. And is it going to be this year? It could. I doubt it, but it could. It would be next year, maybe. The year after that, I don't know. So we'll just have to wait and see. It won't be a day before or a day after it was supposed to take place. I guess is the best way I can look at it. But thank you very much for the comment. Now, some of your other comments I like too. And you're paraphrasing a quote from Maitreya. Use your brother's needs as a measure of your action and save the world. I think, if I remember correctly, I'm not correcting you because I get where you're coming from. Is take your brother's needs as a measure of your action and help save the world or something to that effect. Doesn't really, I might have even gotten it wrong too, Robert, but I appreciate your comment because that is so true. Take your brother's needs as a measure of your action and help save the world. When you help your brothers, you're helping to save the world, according to Maitreya. The other two things that you talked about, detachment is an art, and this is something that Maitreya will be teaching at great length throughout the course of the coming time, even for the next 2,000 years. It's something that we will all take to heart, we'll all look at. It will be central to our lives, will be the core teachings of Maitreya: honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment. And it's an art, just like you're saying, because it's not anything that you can draw a conclusion from and, okay, that's it, I got it. You have to do it your whole life, until you master it like these masters do. It will make it easier to see people who are doing it perfectly, these masters, living their lives like that. It'll be easy to, because Maitreya, that's how he lives his life: honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment. There is no facade to Maitreya. There is no double speak or political speak that he'll be speaking. It's all coming from the heart, and that kind of thing. But you also see somebody that's totally detached, loves all of humanity, whether they hate him now or love him now. He loves them exactly the same. We've never seen somebody in real life with the love that Maitreya exudes, and embodies, actually, because he embodies the love nature of God. But what made me laugh when I read your comments, Robert, was you said detachment is an art. Then you also said, because I found this true for me, detachment is an art. And then you also said, I can't wait for the day of declaration, any day now. So hopefully you find it funny like I did, because they were right next to one another when I read it. So I do appreciate it. But anyway, thank you very much for your comments. And so true, so true. And then Thomas Otto, you had mentioned a couple of teachers, and then I wanted to talk about Krishnamurti. You said, exactly, this is what the agenda of Sri Aurobindo, top yoga master, and quote unquote the mother, Mira Alfasa. It's really worth reading their books. The best in spirituality and the quote unquote non-biased teachings of Krishnamurti, in my humble opinion. That's what you said. And Krishnamurti, according to Maitreya himself, is the perfect example of honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment. And this is coming from Maitreya. This isn't my opinion of Krishnamurti, although I share that same opinion of Krishnamurti. But if you go to the description portion of this video, you will see a link to the YouTube page for Krishnamurti. If you just search Krishnamurti, you'll probably get a lot of different videos. There is an official page that they put up audio and videos of Krishnamurti over the years. And you can get a really good sense. In fact, I think you can get the best sense of what honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment is from Krishnamurti videos, when he's answering questions, how he's speaking to the audience, how he's speaking one-on-one if somebody's interviewing him or something like this. The best sense that you can get of those, honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment, the core teachings of Maitreya, the best sense of that until we all see and recognize Maitreya on TV and see him in our own life. That would be the best sense of it, as far as I'm concerned. So thank you very much for your comment. Spirit Watcher, appreciate your comments and your emails. Thank you. Carolyn Palmer as well. I thank you very much. Happy Kitten 5695, appreciate it as well. Now let's get on to Reality Regenerator here. Now, in the last video, I tried to address a comment because this person put it. This person said, "I think you would find the video titled "The True Encounter That Terrified Jimi Hendrix" very interesting." And I searched on YouTube "The True Encounter That Terrified Jimi Hendrix," and a video popped up. I don't know if this is the video you want me to watch, but this is the video that came up. And the gentleman that was doing this video, of course, had hundreds of thousands of views. It's quite an extraordinary story. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I can't really speak on that. Of the time that Jimi Hendrix and some of his bandmates were traveling, I guess they were going from gig to gig, maybe. And it was a snowstorm, if I'm not mistaken, and they were taken back by what appeared to be a landing of a spaceship. They, of course, stopped their van, and out of this spaceship came this moth-like creature that looked humanoid, but like a moth-like creature. Didn't say anything, I think, according to the video, but there was all this different interpretations coming from Jimi Hendrix and some of his bandmates about what this person was trying to communicate to them, I think. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it again is because Reality Regenerator said, sorry, because I talked about it from two perspectives. One was about spreading fear that this person, not you, Reality Regenerator, but the person putting on the video was spreading fear to some degree. And the other one's about perception. Now, you said, sorry, I meant to mention that most of what I wanted you to hear was what he believed personally about what sounded like the Master's coming. And toward the end of the video, this person was talking about what Jimi Hendrix was telling him that he saw the hope of humanity and humanity coming together as one and all that kind of stuff. And did Jimi Hendrix, in fact, get a communication from this being like that? Did this person actually look like how Jimi Hendrix looked like? I can't really speak to that other than the fact that it doesn't have the ring of truth for me. Okay, now, doesn't mean that they didn't see a UFO and doesn't mean they didn't come encounter with somebody from outer space. It's just that that's not how they look. What has the ring of truth for me is when I read George Adamski's books and when I read what Benjamin Creme had talked about, the time that he had met the Space Brothers. Both of those gentlemen have a very unique, but I think very accurate view of who and what the Space Brothers are, how they look, where they come from, and why they're here, because nobody else is talking about it from this perspective. They said that they look just like us, just as unique as us. There's not a single person on this planet that looks just like you, right? Or there might be people that favor how you look or how I look, but they don't look exactly like us. So there's no uniformity all throughout cosmos, according to the Masters. And none of them look like moths or even little green men with big heads and big black eyes and long fingers. That's not how aliens look. Because they're not even aliens. They're Space Brothers. They're humanity on other planets from our solar system. But they just come from one or other of the higher levels of physical plane called the etheric. They're not coming from another dimension, and they're not coming from another galaxy or another cosmos or whatever. They are localized in our own and are coming from our own solar system. But the times that George Adamski was talking to them here on planet Earth and not on in the spaceships that he goes into great detail about, they were sitting down at a diner talking over the table, and nobody in the diner looked at these people from outer space and went running out of the diner like their hair was on fire, saying they're all going to die because there's these alien-looking people talking to this guy, and this time they look like humanity, except he said that the people from Venus are very beautiful, and the people from Mars are very small. Those examples I think that you mentioned. And Ben, when he had talked about the Space Brothers, said it in the same way, that they look like us. They could walk into any mall, any grocery store, or walk in the park, and nobody's just going to go, oh my God, we're all going to die. Look at those aliens. They're there. They look like us. And until they say that they're from outer space, and even if they did say they were from outer space, you would either believe it or you wouldn't. You know what I mean? But there are people who are living here on this planet that aren't from here. And the purpose of why they're here is they're here to help humanity. They're here to bridge us from how we lived and how separate we're living to a time when unity is manifested on this planet. They're working in conjunction with the masters. And their work mainly now is centered around keeping us safe and alive until we stop polluting the environment in the way that we're polluting the environment. There's a lot of talk about climate change in videos and on the news and so forth, and that's bad according to the masters, really bad. But what we're doing by spreading nuclear radiation through, the use of nuclear power and the way that we harness it and so forth today is far more dangerous than climate change. And if it wasn't for the work and activity of these space brothers in conjunction with the masters, we would be in very, very sorry shape right now. So they're keeping the planet, helping to keep the planet alive and livable until we stop polluting it in the way that we're polluting it. So when people in the news, and there are a lot of pundits that say, well, if it was as bad as, climate change was as bad as what they were saying 20 years ago, we would have already been dead by now or whatever. Well, the only reason why have any kind of world with vegetation and animals living in it and us living in it is the work and activity of these space brothers. So they are here to help us. They're on a spiritual mission, and they're not going anywhere. And they will be with us all throughout time, just as these masters will be with us all throughout the coming time and into the future and so forth. But they are humanity, higher humanity that look just like us. And the perception that Jimi Hendrix had of that person from outer space could have just been his own projection of fear. And the reason why I talked about it from the standpoint of perception was because what we think about ourselves, about the world, about each other, even if it seems as real as a three-dimensional room, is more than likely illusion. The world in which we live in, that we perceive, is illusion. It comes from, and that illusion's really the cause of it comes from the fact that we view ourselves as separate from one another. Maitreya says he comes to rid, and I'm paraphrasing, he comes to rid the world of the crime of separation. He said he affirms that as his purpose. And the only way to do that is to bring about the principle of sharing. That will start to bring about manifested unity on this planet. Ben's master said, and I'll kind of leave us with this, that any time that any one of us see life as separate from one another, whether we compare and contrast us with other people, whether we're critical of other people or so forth, it's all what they call glamour, which is an illusion. Until we see life as one, until we start to see the unity in life all throughout cosmos, we will always have this illusion of time and space, of separateness, and so forth. And when that happens, we bring about fear. And when we spread our own fear, which we all are guilty of doing this, we don't realize the damage that it does to the people that we're telling it to then how they spread it to other people, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. And everything we put out comes back to us at some point. Now, here's the good news, and I'll leave us on the good news, is Ben's master said fear and joy are equally infectious. So we have it within both of our hands. One hand to spread fear, do destruction, harm, and eventually have to deal with that destruction and that harm that we cause, or we can spread joy, love, creative thoughts, loving thoughts. And it goes out into the world. It affects those in a loving way. It comes back to us as love. So to me, I'd rather do the latter. Now, whether I do that perfectly all the time, I can't sit here and say that I do, but if I was a choice between spreading harmful thoughts that come back to me as harm or joyful and loving thoughts that come back to me as joy and love, I'd take the latter for sure. But anyway, I love you guys. Thank you very much for your comments. Look forward to questions in the future and comments in the future. You guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Talk to you real soon. Take care. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.